So this was a complex lecture, and it needed to be a complex lecture because, as we have seen, when we introduce conditional statements and function calls, we end up with very complex flow of control, the red arrow, and data, where our arrows are pointing and what values are being passed to functions and what values are being returned. Your ability to trace through such code is going to determine how fluent you are as a programmer. While we are learning programming, we should practice code tracing with simple snippets. We should be able to understand, yes, when I write code like this, it's going to do this. If we're not sure, please practice using Python Tutor. It's a very important skill to pick up. That way, in the future, when you're writing code or you're reading somebody else's code, you will very quickly be able to say, yeah, I can believe why that code is working. I can believe that this, I'll go into this if condition and here I will jump around the else and so on. Those kinds of mental conversations are important when you're looking at code, whether it's code that you have just typed or whether it's code that your AI has produced or whether it's code that somebody else wrote several months ago. So please develop this ability. There's no shortcut around this except to practice. The other thing we did in this lecture was introduce ourselves to these refute problems. Once again, we are trying to develop this very important ability to critique code that looks right. So our goal in these is to actually try and convince others that the code is wrong. Although for refute problems, I'm promising you that it's wrong, but I want you to prove that it's wrong. I want you to come up with a counterexample. And a counterexample in our case is always going to be an input to this function for which the expected answer as per the docstring is not the same as the value that the function actually ends up returning on the input that we gave. Once we know that the code is buggy, once we're convinced that it's buggy, we can then move on to debugging the code. Also in this lecture, we saw many ways of writing code that are equivalent. Some of these are easier to comprehend than others, and I showed you some ways in which you can simplify your code. At the end of the day, it's important to remember that what matters is not only the style that is most comfortable to you, but also the style that is common amongst the very large number of Python programmers that are out there. So even if you personally prefer a style that is different, you must be able to comprehend the code written by others. In the next lecture, we will move on to more advanced types of data. See you there.